Hey guys, how you doing? Eric at SoCal Cigars here. So I wanted to bring you this quick review based on the fact that I just attended a huge Super Bowl event, and there was about 300 cigars at this event, and I'd never heard of them before. And ended up having one, and I was shocked how much I liked it, how much I liked the flavor of it. It was a really good little cigar. So I figured I'd bring it to you guys. Maybe you can check it out and get one for yourself. These are from 2019, but clearly, given the Super Bowl just happened in February, where my Chiefs did win again, thank you. They're clearly still available. This is the box right here. It is Esteban Carreras Cigars. This is there's 12 in a box, and these are the Mr. Brownstone Bonanza 2019. These are a Maduro, but they're not hard hitting. It was really good. It's a really good cigar. This is the stick right here. Rundown, a box of, I did find them online, a box of 20 if you can still get them. I know they sell them, at least the website I found, they sell them in singles and in 5-packs. But I'm estimating a box of 20 is probably about $145, $148. These are listed as full-bodied. They're from Nicaragua. The wrapper is a Connecticut Broadleaf. The filler is Nicaraguan, and the binder is Ecuadorian Habano. So, cigar looks good. You know, I'm in the print industry, so I'm always impressed when they do a good job on the presentation and the marketing of the cigar. So you got a nice, label here with foil stamping. It's really done well. They got like a nice vellum sleeve, another, foil stamp piece here, and like a ribbon at the bottom. So, I'm sure you've seen these on occasion where they really kind of dress them up. Kind of cool. The whole experience, it starts with the eyes. So, hey, why not? And if you're not familiar with these, you just grab this little bottom piece where it's got like a piece of ribbon and just kind of start to pull it off. Then you get back down to the regular cigar that has the normal label on it over the wrapper. And for those of you who haven't seen my videos before, I always recommend that you do not take off the wrapper or the foil piece here until you've smoked the cigar. The inside is warmed up. I tend to do about a pinky's distance from the band, this cigar band, because back here they usually use a little bit of fruit pectin as a glue to keep the this band from moving around, so it stays in the right spot. So it's a nice presentation in the box. If you pull it off prematurely, sometimes you'll put a hole in the outside wrapper, and so we always want to avoid that. I did already cut this one before I came down. I did a deep V on this one. So let's go ahead and get the sucker toasted, and we'll give it a shot. Again, always toast the foot. You're just kind of making it charred, not lighting it, just charred, so that when you do light it, again, if you go back and watch my videos, maybe I'll do another series on some of the beginning basics for people. It's always good to do a refresher. But you toast the foot just so that you get an even char, so that when you go to light it, it more evenly lights, and you start the process of that burn good from the beginning. So you don't get, half of it's lit, half of it's not. This will help you. It almost makes like char cloth. If you've ever been like in the Boy Scouts and you would make char cloth for fire lighting, you're sort of doing that whole process on the end of the cigar so it lights evenly. Typically, turn around, take a look, check, make sure you're lit. Not uncommon that you're going to do a second hit. Yeah, my first impressions when you first light it, like I've told you in the past in my other videos, again, maybe I got to do a refresher course. I think that's a good idea. But remember, try not to judge like a cigar in the first quarter inch of the burn, because when you first light it, you can get a little bit of a bitter taste because of the lighting process, and it's gotten really hot all of a sudden. That typically will mellow out. If it doesn't, that's a problem. But typically that bitter initial hit, if you do get one, will mellow out as the cigar starts to burn and then evenly heats up the tobacco like it's supposed to be. yeah, the construction's good, the draw is good, the smoke's a little light right now. It'll probably get a little better as it heats up. Cap is good. I mean, the build quality on this is just fine. I mean, it looks really good. It's really tight. There's not a lot of, I'm not seeing a lot of veins in it that you sometimes see when they're using like a lower quality tobacco. You'll still see some pretty thick, veins from the leaf that are kind of protruding out in the, in the wrapper. This is really smooth and nice. And again, the cap is done really nice. It's a pretty deep cap. You can see the 3 layers. So when you cut it, if you long as you cut it above the cap line, you're gonna reduce the risk of this thing unraveling. So again, the build quality seems nice. Initial burn seems pretty good. But again, got to get into it a little bit. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a cigar by the first half inch, quarter inch. That's kind of what I would go with. Yeah, draw's good. I would say it's on the tighter side of good, but not to the point of where I think you need to like use a draw enhancer or like a poker that goes through to open up the airway a little better. I think it's fine. Yeah, see already, and I'm only 1/8 inch into it, and that initial bitterness from that light is already gone. So again, never light your cigar and panic like, oh my god, this thing's a piece of crap. No, not necessarily. Let it get going a little bit. Yeah, this is good. So right away on this thing, you're getting. Well, one thing I'll tell you right away is although this is a Maduro, some Maduros are heavy hitters, and this isn't. This is more on the flavorful side than it is like really punching you hard. Because sometimes, man, Maduros can be overwhelming, especially if you're not experienced smoker. They can hit you pretty hard. But this, even though it's Maduro, it still feels. You tell it's a full-bodied, but it's full-bodied more in the flavor that it's like, really overpowering and hitting you. Like I remember I had I think it was the Camacho Triple Maduro, and that thing just throat punched me. I mean, oh my God, I got pretty much sick off that cigar. I had to go lay down for about 20 minutes because it just wiped me out. And I've been smoking cigars for decades, so you got to be careful. But this one's not overwhelming. It's just really flavorful. Yeah, and already I'm getting, a nice base of that earth tone, which is good. I think you always want that earthy, natural. Like when I say earthy, sometimes it always sounds weird to people, but dirt, hay, grass, just that very grounded flavor of where the tobacco came from. You get that. In lesser quality cigars, sometimes you don't pick up on that very well, and it seems very airy and light. But this one, you do get that kind of that nice base of earthiness to it. But then as you're building on top of it, I'm actually getting, and I got it right away, I'm getting a note of chocolate, which is kind of nice. Yeah. Especially if you're retrohaling, and which is, again, if you're not familiar, retrohaling is where you're going to bring some of the smoke not only into your mouth but back out through your nose. Not all of it, maybe a 20% of it. But when you do that, it changes. Your tongue's only able to like the receptors on your tongue only pick up like 6 different flavor profiles, where your sinuses, your nose can pick up over 400 aromas. So when you get to the point where you're breathing the smoke through your nose, not just in your mouth, it really opens up the flavor palette to where when, I've heard people say, people are talking about a cigar and all these different flavors. They're like, I'm not getting any of that stuff. Start trying to retrohale and you'll start to see what people are talking about when they're getting these different notes. A lot of times that's only presenting itself when you're retrohaling. So that is a thing to start doing. And again, I think this has prompted me. There's enough times gone by on my channel that I think I need to do a series of beginner videos again, just to, freshen them up, update them, give me, if there's any new information I can offer, I'll do that. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, that's really good. Again, it's not hard hitting, it's not overbearing, it's not over powerful. It's a Maduro, you're getting the flavor from it, that earthy tone, a little hit of the chocolate. And again, I'm trying to see what else. Again, we're not that into it. Okay. Again, we're what, half inch into this thing. Got to understand that the way, these blends are blended, part of getting the full flavor out of that blend is that the tobacco has to heat up, because the flavor you're getting from the tobacco is enhanced when it gets to the temperature that the blender is anticipating you're going to get to when you're smoking a cigar, and then you get that full flavor. So again, you've always got to be a little bit patient when you smoke a cigar, especially a good cigar, that as you're smoking it and as you're getting that cigar warmed up on the inside, you're starting to get more and more flavors. That's why a lot of times you'll see a progression through the cigar that it'll start changing and adding notes, dropping notes off, things like that. So a cigar, because sometimes we'll call a cigar like a one-hit wonder or a single note cigar. It's because it's really the same from the beginning to the end. Typically, your better cigars, let's just say, the profile changes as you're smoking it. And again, like I said, you might taste things in the beginning that drop away because the cigar's heated up now. And you're going to start tasting things that weren't there before because now it's a temp. So always pay attention to that. Retrohaling is going to be your key to getting those notes out of there, though. So that's something to really practice. Yeah, that's mostly what I'm getting right now. It's not overly complex. You are getting a lot of flavor. Like I said, you're almost getting that mixture of like that dirt, earthy feeling with a little bit of hay grass taste. So you're getting kind of both of those. Sometimes you only get one of those. This you're kind of getting both. And again, I'm getting that little chocolatey note. So yeah, it's good. I mean, again, that's already three things that we're tasting, which is good. Because trust me, some cigars you smoke them from beginning to end and they never change very much at all, which is okay too. There's some cigars that I would call your like daily smokes, that you're lower end, lower cost. They're maybe not that complex, but they're great. If here's my pairing today. Okay, it's a Pepsi. I like Pepsi. I don't really want Pepsi to change. I don't want to have it taste differently as I'm drinking it. I want it to kind of stay the same the whole time. So in the right situation, you're not always wanting things to change. Sometimes you want them to be consistent. So that's okay. It doesn't mean that the cigar is flawed because it's not having 50 notes to it. It can have one really good note. Like I love vanilla. I like really sweet cigars, typically. They're kind of my go-to. Obviously, I like cigars like this as well, like your traditional cigars, but I love infused cigars as well, and I really love that vanilla note. So if I got a single note cigar that's vanilla the whole way, I'm okay with that. Perfectly fine. It's not a problem at all. Yeah, see, it's really calmed down. It's really mellowed out. Sorry for the noise. I don't know how much you hear because I do have a directional microphone that should be hitting me, but there's planes flying over. There's stuff going on. We live near an airport that restores old World War II airplanes, so it's really cool. Especially on the weekends, you'll see a lot of cool old aircraft flying around that they've restored. It's pretty cool. But you might be hearing that a little bit. That's okay. So yeah, now that I'm about 3/4 of an inch into this thing, the one thing I'm noticing that's changing is the smoke has gotten from what I would kind of describe as kind of like crispy, harsher to more creamy. So that's a nice change that it's made. Is it's gotten a little creamier, so the smoke has cooled down. It feels a little softer in your mouth. Where sometimes when you smoke some harsh tobacco, or especially let's say if your humidor is not set right and you're burning tobacco that's not as humidified as it should be, it burns really fast and really hot. And sometimes you'll get kind of that kind of harsher, like I say, like edgy, crispy, harsh smoke. This is now mellowed out to being pretty smooth and creamy, which is a good thing to me. I guess that's the beauty of cigars, is it's subjective. You know, what I think is a fantastic cigar, someone else might think that's horrible. No problem. It's all good. You know, cigars are like personalities. You know, they're all different, and you never know what's gonna strike you as being what you like and what you don't like. It's kind of part of it. And to me, a lot of times, because I don't drink very much alcohol, not that I don't drink, I just don't drink that much. For me, I like a soda because I like, especially when I'm smoking a more traditional tobacco cigar, not infused with any kind of flavors or oils. I get that kind of hit of the sweetness from the sugar of the soft drink, and it kind of offsets that this is not infused, which I tend to like those flavors better. So it kind of gives me what this is lacking a little bit. So pairing can be important, even if it's just a soda. The number one actually soda to pair with, it would be a cream soda. That's what most people say, like a vanilla cream soda would be the most popular non-alcoholic pairing with a cigar. Now, is it redundant if you have an infused sweet cigar with a sweet drink? Maybe. You know, maybe that's where you would, you know, switch over to a whiskey or a bourbon or something else. You know, again, I would say in the world of cigars, all the stuff there, I would classify them as guidelines more than rules. Like most of life, you know, there are rules, but I think a lot of times things are more suggestions or guidelines that, hey, for the most part, for the most amount of people, this and this and this all go together and work well. Doesn't mean it's going to work well for you. So you still need to experiment, investigate, get people's opinions. That's maybe why you're watching videos like this. You're getting someone else's view, and that's good. You know, maybe you never thought, hey, you could actually drink a soft drink with a cigar, and that's okay. Because some people might tell you that's taboo. Why would you ever do that? You could only have, you know, whiskey neat with no ice. It has to be 18-year-old, whatever, you know. No, that's someone's opinion. That to me would fall under guideline or, you know, suggestion. So, you know, I don't want cigars to be overly complex to the point of where it's a turnoff, because it can be for some people. So you should be enjoying this whole process, not worrying about it. Again, that's what prompted me in the beginning to do some of these videos, is just try to educate the novice cigar smokers so that they don't feel so stressed out or nervous about, am I doing something wrong? That was kind of the point of giving you what I gave in the beginning, and what I'm going to rehash in a series of videos after this one, is the basics. So at least you know how to cut it, because there is a proper way to cut. There's multiple ways to cut a cigar, but there is a way to not damage it and have it unravel. So there is, in that arena, a guideline you want to follow. So anyway, again, I'll put out some videos on that and kind of touch back on that whole topic. I think it's a good idea. So hitting that one a little heavier on the retro, as you saw. I kind of wanted to force some notes, see what else I could get. You can hear that was a heavy one, which is fine. Yeah, that it started tasting a little bit of nuttiness to it. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was exactly. So when it comes to nuttiness in a cigar, I tend to think towards like almonds or like walnuts. Almonds to me are smoother, sweeter, softer, oily, where walnuts can have a little bit more of a sharper, edgier, bitter taste to it. And so typically for me, when I notice a note of nuttiness in a cigar, it tends to lean towards almondy or or walnutty. And I think this one, so I'm trying to figure out. I think this one's more towards the almondy. It's I think with that cigar smoke having smoothed out on this thing and become a little more creamy, I think that nutty flavor I'm getting now is more towards the like almondy, smoother, like oily feel and taste. And what's funny too is that's sort of taken over the initial hit I got of like that chocolate overtone. That seems to have really kind of gone to the back. Yeah. So you're again getting about 1.25 inches into this thing. Now it's a lot more towards the earthy, that almondy, nutty, creamy smoke. It's nice. It's developing. I would argue it's developing nicely. It's dropping off a few things like that chocolate. That's kind of a bummer that it dropped off a little bit, but it may come back. You never know. Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. This thing's chock full of flavor. I mean, there's a lot of flavor to it, and sometimes it's hard to describe because you can't. It's like when you eat a meal. And I've oftentimes compared cigars to a meal because to me, like when a blender puts this together, it's a recipe they're following. It's these certain leaves from this part of the plant that have been treated this way and dried this way, and if there's oils infused, that's a whole other part of the recipe. So just like when you eat a meal, sometimes you might just feel that the whatever you ate just was full of flavor. Doesn't mean you can say, okay, I tasted salt, I tasted pepper, I tasted garlic. I mean, you don't always list out every single ingredient you tasted, but you can taste overall that, hey, this was really flavorful. And that's kind of what I'm getting from this too. It's not that I'm able to nail down every single flavor I'm getting, but I can tell you when it comes to a cigar being bland or more flavorful, this one's very rich and flavorful. So you're getting a lot out of it when you hit it. Yeah, it's really good. All right, I'll take a break so you don't have to just sit and watch me smoke this entire cigar. I will get deeper into this thing, and I will come back and I will give you my final thoughts on this, and maybe you can try it yourself, but let's hang tight and see what we think in a minute. Stay tuned. Okay, and I'm back. As you can see, I've gotten a little deeper in the cigar. We're about 1 inch away from the band, and let's see where we're at. So I guess for me, let's just see what's stayed the same, what's changed. One thing I'll tell you is the construction has stayed really good. I mean, I haven't had to touch this up once. It's stayed lit. I'm not struggling keeping it lit. It's doing great. The construction is nice and even and really good. The smoke production has gone up like I was anticipating. If you remember in the beginning, I had said smoke's a little light, but it might develop. It has. Now I'm getting really good hits off this thing and a lot of smoke. I would also argue the draw has opened up a little bit as I've gotten past the center of the cigar. So that's developed in a good way as well. I would say I'm still getting the earthy notes. I'm still getting that little bit almondy hit. I'm still getting, but it's mellowed out on that. The chocolatey hit I was getting in the very beginning is really gone to the back. It's not that it's gone, but it's not nearly as prominent. Like right now, I would probably struggle more to have noticed it than I did in the beginning. And I would say the only thing that's developed that I don't like is in my mouth. I'm starting to get a little bit of an aftertaste, because sometimes with a cigar you get either, I find one of three things. You either get no aftertaste, where you're like, wow, I'm surprised I don't taste anything after smoking that cigar. It's pretty clean. Sometimes you get a really good aftertaste, like you're happy you can still taste it for a while. And then sometimes you get a bad aftertaste. I would argue this one's leaning lightly towards the bad, where I'm getting a little bit of a bitter overtone in my mouth now. And I'm not a fan of anything bitter when it comes to a cigar. So that, as I go through this cigar and burn it all the way down, I'm starting to develop that little bit of a bitter aftertaste, which is not a deal breaker and it's not overwhelming, I wouldn't say forget this thing, it's horrible. Not at all. But if I have to really be critical, I'm obviously reviewing this for you, so I'm trying to give you as much information as I can so you can make an informed decision. Do I want to try this stick or pass? I would argue I would try it. I think it's a good stick. I think the flavor's good. I think that the way it's developed is developed nicely. I think the construction's fantastic. I would say for the old Mr. Brownstone from Esteban Carreras, I'd give it a go. Like I said, I did find it online in a few spots where they're still selling the singles and 5-packs. I think if you keep looking, you probably find a box of them somewhere. I know local cigar shops because I know where we got these cigars for the Super Bowl event is a local shop. It's actually in Bellflower, California. So you might want to maybe hit up your local shop and see if they still have these on the shelf, because it's very possible that we just got them, so clearly they're still out there. You know, the worst thing you can do is review a cigar like, hey, this is great, but you could never find it. But this one clearly still out there, so I'd give this one a go. I'd say I'm pleased with it. I'm glad I've got a couple upstairs still that I can keep in my humidor and break them out. I actually did just share one with my brother and sister-in-law who smoke a lot of cigars and have very good palates as well, and they were very impressed with the cigar as well. So I would say at least there's 3 opinions you can take that it's worth a shot if this sounds like it's in your wheelhouse. So anyway, maybe give Mr. Brownstone a shot. Again, I'm going to keep an eye out. I'm going to put out another like Back to the Basics series, let's just say, and refresh all that so that the new people joining the cigar movement, which hopefully continues to grow, can get the basics down and understand some of the nuances of cigar smoking that really you just don't know until somebody tells you. So I'll tell you. Anyway, have a great rest of your day. Maybe give this one a shot and keep an eye out for those videos that I'm going to be putting out on that refresh of the old basics there. And again, I will see you on the next video. Take it easy.